But yeah, narcissism will definitely bring you into that state of maturation. It will cause you to be very clear about who you are. Okay, what kind of boundaries you need to have, and what is it that's going to work for you and what is it that's not going to work for you. What is it that you are here to do in life. You will definitely be very clear, or at least set out for that clarity once you encounter a narcissist in your life. Let's explore now the spiritual role that narcissism is here to play in our lives. Because at the end of the day, we need to understand that, because we want to know that all of these things, there's nothing that happens in the world that does not have any spiritual significance. There's nothing that happens in the world that is not here to teach us something that we will not be able to use for our own ascension. All right, everything that happens in the world is literally here to help us ascend. Whether it's evil or is good, we just need to know that it's all happening. It's not that it's right for it to happen, and it's not that we deserve having narcissistic people coming and wreaking havoc in our lives. None whatsoever. None of those things. Yet whenever it is that they happen, we need to understand that God, the divine, makes all things to work together for our good. All right. And so when we return to God, He's able to take all the rubble of the distraction that the narcissist has caused and use that for our own benefit. Right. So now the first thing that the narcissistic spirit, or the narcissistic energy, or the narcissistic individuals, the first thing that they do, the first benefit of that from a spiritual perspective is that they catalyze an awakening. All right, so they catalyze an awakening in our lives. They give us a very rude awakening. Many people, I myself, the reason why I ventured on a spiritual journey, which I've been rejecting for a very long time, despite the fact that I was a born mystic, despite the fact that I received, about 12 prophecies, that I've received many prophecies about, the work that I was here to do in the world. Despite all of that, I was still running away from my calling. All right. And so it was narcissism. It was my encounter with narcissism that led me to exploring consciousness, that led me to exploring waking up, that led me to exploring a spiritual awakening, and that's how I ended up going into my spiritual initiation, because I realized I was dealing, when it comes to narcissistic individuals, I saw very clearly that I was dealing with a force that I had no tools to deal with as a human being from a three-dimensional perspective. I knew that I needed to involve a higher power with regards to whatever level of evil that I was dealing with when it comes to narcissistic individuals. All right, so a narcissist will catalyze an awakening. If you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, you know that when you walk away from that relationship with a narcissist, you will experience a spiritual awakening. The narcissist will definitely remind you of God. Like, if you've never ever valued God, dealing with a narcissist will definitely remind you that, actually, there needs to be if there's this level of evil, then there must be an opposing level of good as well. And I need to lean more towards that one. You understand? And of course, sometimes you come across a narcissist once before your awakening, and then you find that even during your awakening stages, you are still dealing with narcissists. I mean, for me personally, I've been dealing with narcissists for a very long time. I'm still dealing with them. You understand? And so I know that every time I find myself dealing with a narcissist, that means that there is still something within me that needs to awaken, something divine within me that needs to awaken, that needs to be triggered, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, other means through which the divine would have tried to bring about that awakening may have not been effective. And for some strange reason, the divine would have saw or would have seen this encounter and this experience as something that I would have needed to be able to wake up. You understand? But here's the thing, you do not wish a narcissistic encounter on anyone. Okay. Because, as when I explore the signs of a narcissist, you will understand that and narcissistic people, are pretty much like poison, and that's also how they operate. That's how you know that you're not dealing with a human being. Okay. Because literally what they do is they cunningly infiltrate your space, break your defenses, and then they come in almost like those machines in the movie The Matrix, right? Those machines that will, go into Zion, and then they will start tearing apart everything there. They start tearing everything apart, causing an implosion, causing an internal collapse of the person or of your life. So a narcissist does that typically. A narcissist gently, and if you're dealing with a covert one, very gently and very, in stealth like tactics, or in a stealth like strategy, infiltrates your psyche, infiltrates your life. And then as soon as they are in, then they come and just destroy everything that's in there. They will destroy your self-esteem. They will destroy your relationships. They will destroy your career. They will destroy your health. They will destroy anything that's good and valuable in your life. All right. They will basically just tear anything that is good into pieces. Why are they doing that? Because remember, they've done the same thing to themselves. So you no longer have a real human being there that is doing anything good. All you are dealing with, like, that's doing anything good for themselves, right? All you are dealing with is imposters, right? You are dealing with a false entity that is occupying the body. And now, all that this entity is doing is making sure that they are having something, somewhat of a life that they can use to wreak havoc. So basically, it's almost like, vampirism. Let's look at the myth of vampirism, which was really speaking to narcissism. All right. So any myth of vampirism, it speaks of narcissism. So with a vampire, you are dealing with this person that now is like, okay, they need to create something about themselves that, because they need to feed, right? They need to stay alive. Okay. So they are a vampire. They need to stay alive. And in order for them to stay alive, they need to feed. Okay. And what are they going to be feeding on? They are going to, with regards to vampires, they need blood to feed on. So what is the blood of a human being? Is energy. Okay. So they need to feed on human beings' energy. And so they need this energy, whether it's good or bad energy, they need the energy. And so in order to be able, it's the stuff of life, they need it for their own survival, and they need a lot of it. All right. Whereas a normal human being needs just a little bit of it. A narcissistic energy, a narcissistic spirit, a narcissistic being, they need a lot of energy. They need a lot of attention. They need a lot of problems. They need a lot of chaos. They need intensity of emotions. All right. And the reason why they need that is because they need a lot of energy. Okay. So now, in order to be able to get this, they need to create somewhat of a facade of a life. So, and you will notice that this is where the demons in the narcissist work very hard, because to the most part, a lot of narcissists are hardly sick. Okay, narcissists hardly get sick unless if they are using that illness to extract energy. Then they will, keep playing sick most of the time. But all they will be doing is just using the illness to get energy from people. All right. But many a times you will note the narcissist almost always has energy to wake up. The narcissist is that person that hardly misses a day at work, unless if there's some, evil reason why they are, missing work and all of that. They need to wake up and go out into the world every day because that's where they go and get their energy. Then they will be the people stepping on other people. They'll be the people pushing you in the queue for no reason, right? There'll be people that are just constantly causing problems. Why are they doing that? They are extracting energy. Okay. So they will, of course, very quickly gravitate towards positions of power and all of that. But whatever it is, whatever life they are living is not a real authentic life of peace, joy, and true fulfillment. They can pretend however they want to, but none of those things are far from them, because those things are divine things. Those things, you can only experience them when you are connected to the life stream, the Christ essence, God. When you are connected to God, yes, you can definitely, experience fulfillment. And many a times you don't even need a lot of things to experience fulfillment. You understand? But narcissists will pretend to be fulfilled by materialistic things when it's far from it. All those things, they are gathering them not so that they can be fulfilled, but so that they can steal energy from other people. So a narcissist only catches a glimpse of fulfillment when they have been feeding, when they've just fed, and they, just like, a glutton after having eaten, and it's burping, and it's like, yeah, look at me. That's the only time a narcissist gets close to what fulfillment is, but that's not true fulfillment. All right. So after feeding, what that narcissist experience, that high that they experience, that's the only time where they can assume or imagine themselves to be fulfilled, but it's far from it. All right. And so they will create a facade of a life, but this facade of a life is not the life that the authentic person is really living or would have ever wanted to live. It's only a life that basically guarantees that the narcissist will get energy. All right, that the demons will get energy. Okay, so you'll find that maybe the person themselves, the true person themselves, would have been maybe an architect, just living a nice quiet life there, maybe having a nice quiet family and enjoying themselves. But you'll find that when the narcissistic demonic entities take over, maybe they take over the person's body from childhood, that potential destiny that the person could have achieved for themselves, that becomes dissolved, and then the person now has taken on this other destiny that has nothing to do with them. Maybe now the person is a politician, and a person is waking up every day and lying to people, and then those are those politicians. When then later, then there are those scandals where this person has been sleeping with every dress that they've ever come across, and they've done all sorts of strange and atrocious things, right? That's because you're not really dealing with the person there, you are dealing with the demons. The person is no longer there, and whatever achievement that this narcissistic individual has, it's nothing of true value. It's just something that is just meant to be used as a tool to extract energy from others. All right. So okay, so now dealing with a narcissistic individual will definitely catalyze a spiritual awakening. Okay, number two, it challenges the blind empathy in all of us as human beings. I myself, I will raise my hand when it comes to that one. As an empath, of course, I've been very, very naive, because I've grown up in a society that teaches you to turn a blind eye on evil. So I've been very naive to the level of evil that exists in the world, right? Because empathy can do that. When you are an empath, to the most part, when you look at human beings, what you see in them is you see the higher version of them. You see the evolved version of them. You see their beauty, their radiance, their luminance. You see their great potential. Many a times you don't see the darkness that is actually in front of you. You don't see the unconsciousness that is in front of you. You don't see that the fact that this person still has maybe a few lifetimes before they actually achieve that potential that you are seeing in them. Instead, what you are seeing is that luminance and radiance of something that this person has not yet become. And then you base your interaction with this person on their potential instead of who they are in actual real life. And then, of course, you come across narcissists and they love that, don't they? They just love that. And then they will tear you to pieces. And then when they've torn you to pieces, then you realize, okay, the naivety and the too much empathy is not really effective, you know. And so in the place of that, blind empathy, there needs to be control measures, and there needs to be a certain level of awareness, and there needs to be an integration of darkness that exists in the world. There needs to be that maturation to that understanding that this world that we are living in has been dark for a very long time. So that means there are a lot of dark entities posing as human beings that we are dealing with. And unfortunately, those dark entities may be your blood relatives sometimes. And this is where the sad part of it, where, once again, the Bible will say to you, if your right arm causes you to sin, you chop it off. You understand? It's because when you are dealing with narcissistic individuals, especially if you're an empath, there's not going to be any win-win situation there, because narcissists hate win-win situations. All narcissists want is domination or destruction or both. So if they're not getting any of that, that's going to be a problem for them. So if you want harmony, don't think you'll be able to generate that with narcissists, because they don't want that. All right. So then you then begin to understand that we are not really living in that, we are not in Atlantis anymore before its fall, before, the development of the mind, right? We are not there anymore where, it's all kumbaya and love and light, you know. But we are in a very dark world. We're existing right now. We are, transmuting it, and we are transcending into a higher timeline. But between now and then, we are still dealing with very dark entities in this world that have no, positive intentions, no good intentions towards anything that is good. In fact, their very intentions are to destroy what is good, to destroy the light. All right. In the same way that, they destroyed Jesus Christ, they tried to, of course, they didn't know that they were serving a higher purpose. But in the same way that they did that, they will try and destroy anything that is good in the world. All right. And so your blind empathy gets challenged when it comes to narcissism. Okay, so that's a good thing, because then now when you know that it's okay to actually to have psychic protection, to employ whatever necessary tools and resources to protect yourself, when you get to that point, you would have learned your lessons from narcissism and narcissistic individuals. And then number 3, they challenge us into spiritual maturity. All right. So spiritual maturity is, once again, that integration of yin yang. All right. So if you are a person that is just, too good, which most empaths are, you mature into that level where you integrate that level of evilness. And this is where now that concept of, no, narcissism is not altogether evil, because there is a level of narcissism that is apparently healthy. All right. And so, then there are different people that will say, as long as it's narcissism, it's not healthy and all of that. I'm not going to get into that, but I know that there's a certain level of darkness that we all need to have within us to bring about balance. Because if you are altogether good and you are all good and there's no darkness within you, then of course you are going to run into situations that are extremely dark that need to bring about balance into your, goodness. So if you are too much light, there needs to be a little bit of darkness that brings about balance into that darkness. All right. And so now this is where, once again, that naivety of spirituality, falls, out of the picture. Because if, as long as you believe that as a spiritual person, you need to meet a particular standard, you will get caught up in a trap. And I promise you, those standards, to the most part, have been set up by narcissistic individuals in religious systems. Those standards about how perfect and pure you are supposed to be. Like, for example, there have been people in my life who once they hear that I'm a spiritual practitioner, they start acting very strange and very weird around me, saying things like, oh, we know you don't like you don't like it when people swear, or they will apologize when they swear in front of me. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? Just because I'm a spiritual practitioner, does that mean that I'm now no longer a human being? Like, I'm still a human being. I still get angry. So you should not be surprised when I get angry. Just because I'm a spiritual practitioner doesn't mean I don't get angry. I get angry. Okay. I like what Iyanla Van Zandt once said at some point. She said, there'll be days when you might come across me, having a face off with someone on the street. You understand? And so don't ever put yourself in some kind of a box to say that just because you are practicing spirituality, that means you are supposed to be a perfect human being. That's a trap. Okay, so you will still allow yourself to have dark aspects within you. You'll find yourself that you might still feel jealousy within you, and it's not for you to judge your jealousy. All right, it's not for you to judge anything that is less than ideal within yourself, because the minute you judge yourself, you are falling into that narcissistic trap once again, because then that means you are rejecting yourself. And then how can you transmute or heal anything that you are rejecting? So you will still find yourself experiencing jealousy. You'll still find yourself experiencing insecurities. You'll still find yourself making a whole lot of mistakes as a spiritual practitioner. That doesn't take away, or as a spiritual person, that doesn't take away from your purity. Because what is pure and holy about you is the spirit, not the form. Is the spirit. The form is the form. And the form is subject to a lot of things that have to do with the elements. Okay, so once again, there's this spiritual couple that will tell you this is not just namaste and kumbaya here. It's love and light and fuck you, or rather, love and light and fuck you too. Okay, that's that kind of spirituality that we are practicing here. Why? Because we are saying that we are bringing that balance of light and darkness. We are not just playing in the space of just being all bright and shiny, but not integrating certain aspects of ourselves. Okay, because in this world, we might still need to fight for certain things. We might still need to set certain types of boundaries for ourselves. You understand? And of course, anything that has to do with fighting people or fighting anything, that should absolutely be the last resort. That should not be anything that we all want to jump into. But we also want to set up that dynamic within ourselves and in general, that says, you don't want to mess with me. You understand? Like, just because I'm a spiritual person does not necessarily mean that I'm a playground for demons. And that it doesn't necessarily mean that I'll just take your bullshit and just, accept it and as if nothing is happening. And just love and lights to everything. You understand? So that's the spiritual maturation that comes through. And so for me also, when I received this love and lights and fuck you, that's when my Ingwe Yamabala was activated. My the leopard energy, that's when it was activated within me. So the leopard energy activates a lot of things within us, but it also activates that spiritual fierceness, right? That spiritual fierceness that's willing to say, you know what, I'm not going to, be all about being nice, all the time. Here's the thing: if you're a nice person, you're a nice person. There's no running away from it. You are a nice person, but that doesn't mean that within you, whenever necessary, you don't have the resources to assert a boundary. You understand? That doesn't mean that. So that maturation is that one where you understand that, oh, it's nice. So you will be nice, you'll be kind, you'll be loving, because there's absolutely no use in shutting down the light. We are here to shine the light. So we need to shine the light. And the light is love. The light is kindness. The light is empathy, compassion, connection with other human beings, right? That's what the light is. Okay. However, as we are shining that light, at the same time, we are saying this light is not meant, it's not here to be taken for granted. Okay. That's what we are saying. That's that maturation to say, if you fuck with the light, it's not going to work well for you. Them. And we don't even do it to say, oh, we doing all these spells, we casting spells to return things to senders or do anything of that nature. No, it's just the nature of the light itself. When we do the work, it's a consuming fire. So anyone that messes with the light, they will get burned. Let's look at number 4. So through contrast, we are able to see what doesn't work so that we can launch desires for what works. All right. So this takes us back once again to that story that I spoke about of Atlantis, so and the development of the mind. So for this, however long, this dark age that we've been living in, where basically the scales were tipped towards evil. That's why evil people were the ones that were succeeding. Evil people were the ones that were in charge most of the time. Evil people were not being exposed. They were being protected and supported. Things were always working out for evil people in the dark age. That's because, we were exploring darkness. We're exploring the depths of darkness. All right. And so now, with the advent of this narcissism pandemic that we've been dealing with, what this challenges us to do is to see things that don't work, to see what doesn't work, so that then we can manifest what works as a collective and as individuals. You understand? Like, for example, on a personal level, if you enter into a relationship, any relationship whatsoever, with a narcissist, very quickly it will become clear to you, right, that what is it that you don't want in a relationship. You understand? What is it that that's a perfect model of what is it that should not be present in a healthy relationship, so that then you can say, okay, fine, I simply want the opposite of this. And so when you heal and transmute the energy of that toxicity of narcissism, naturally, automatically, what begins to launch itself into the hologram of your life is the opposite of what narcissism is, which is congruency, which is win-win solutions, win-win situations, which is, true oneness and, did I say authenticity? True love, true connection, true peace, everything that is good, but good and genuine, not good and fake. You understand? So you get to see all of that. And once again, it's also not just that goodness that's just, all allowing, all, it's like, you just let everything happen. No, going with the flow type of goodness. No, it's that goodness that understands, what is it that's going to work for me? What is it that's not going to work for me? What is it that is going to be aligned to my highest purpose? What is it that's not going to be aligned to my highest purpose? What is it that, serves the highest good for me as an individual and as humanity as a collective? What is it that does that, and what is it that doesn't? All right. So that kind of goodness. Okay. And then what is it that I need to let go of? What is it that I need to hang on to? So you get to that point when you are dealing with narcissism. All right. And, just going back to spiritual maturity, another thing that we had not yet matured into as spiritual beings that we are, before we began to understand narcissism, right? We had not matured matured out of codependence, right? The human condition, and here we're talking about the dark aspect of humanity, right? The unconsciousness of it, right? That human condition. So each time I say the human condition, I'm talking about the dark aspect of humanity, the unconsciousness of humanity. The human condition has been such that human beings were raised to be very codependent, to be very externally focused instead of internally focused, and that's one of the things that we're needing to grow out of. To the most part, human beings are still little children looking for a parent to validate them, looking for an external figure to, tell them that you are okay, to give them permission for things like being happy, things like, seeing your greatness, seeing your light, seeing your truth. To the most part, a lot of human beings are still waiting for someone to confirm them in that regard. And here we're talking about adults, because, when you're still coming up in life, it's natural to still be unsure about a lot of things, because, you haven't lived, so you're still figuring things out, right? But many a times you find people that are more than 50 years old, they are still not clear about who they are, and they are still being, tossed and turned around with the winds of life. I mean, even I myself, for many years, after I had reached the age of 30, for many years, I was still, um, looking for outside forces, and you don't realize it until you pause and you begin to do the work, right? And then you realize, oh my word, this is not sovereignty, this is not autonomy that I've been operating under all this time. I've been operating under codependency. I've been needing to get love from external sources instead of, connecting to the true source of love, which is God. You understand? So those are the things that you mature into when you've dealt with narcissism. But yeah, narcissism will definitely bring you into that state of maturation. It will cause you to be very clear about who you are. Okay, what kind of boundaries you need to have, and what is it that's going to work for you, and what is it that's not going to work for you. What is it that you are here to do in life? You will definitely, be very clear, or at least set out for that clarity once you encounter a narcissist in your life. All right. And then and another thing that you will mature into is that one of understanding, your true wants and desires. Because once again, according to human condition, to the most part, as a human being, what works for other people, you automatically take it on as if it's something that works for you. Okay. Until you get to that point where you realize, oh my word, what would have happened that would have led me to buying into the bullshit that the narcissist offers. Because, when you come out of a narcissistic situation and you look at it, from outside of it, it's like, it was obvious from the onset what I was dealing with here, which was, everything fake. Okay. And then you ask yourself, what is it that would have blinded me to all this mediocrity? Because narcissists are very, mediocre, in a lot of things about them. What is it that would have, attracted me to that? And then you realize that's because I wasn't clear about what I wanted. So anything went, like, so if I'm not clear about the type of people that really should be part of my group, my circle, then I will just be friends with anyone. I'll just hang around anyone. And unfortunately, not everyone is an ideal companion. You understand? Those kinds of things. So then you become very clear once you've dealt with narcissism, right? And so the number 5 of this is challenges us to awareness of our separation from self and God, or God, and then it challenges us from that into union with God. So I've mentioned this previously. Many a times, you would have been on your superficial spiritual journey, right? You just be living your life however it is that you're living it, doing your own thing, and just being unconscious as hell, right? And then you encounter a narcissist. Then, no doubt, your spiritual journey, it intensifies, it gets very deep. Okay, you begin to remember God, and you begin to seek God in a way you've never sought God before. And then you begin to value the importance of that oneness with God. Okay, because then you realize, how could I have been, that exposed to that level of evil? And then you realize, oh, you might have veered far from God and far from self. Because here's the thing, when you disconnect from yourself, you are disconnecting from God, because within the self, that's that spark of life and the spark of God. You understand? And so when you reconnect with God, you are reconnecting with yourself. So when you don't know who you are, it's because you don't know who God is. And when you don't know who God is, there's no way that you can know who you are. Those go hand in hand, because God is that divine spark of life within every human being. And so within you as an individual, God radiates in a unique way. You understand? And so when you embrace your unique contribution to humanity, the uniqueness of who you are, that means you have your unique quirks, your unique skills, your unique talents, your unique abilities, your unique preferences. There are so many things that are unique about you. When you embrace all of that, you are embracing God, because there's a reason why God did not manifest as a clump of everything, but instead God manifested as unique, individualized beings called all of us as human beings, and everything else that exists in there. The reason for that is because you are here to fulfill a unique mission. And how can you embrace that unique mission if you are constantly going with the flow of everything around you, instead of you aligning yourself to the uniqueness of who you are? All right. And so a narcissistic experience will cause you to want to seek that uniqueness of who you are. And if you go on a journey to find yourself, that's the journey of finding God. Because where you find God, you will find yourself. All right, that's where God is. The last one, which is number 6, narcissism catapults us into miraculous living. Okay, because the trauma that you will sustain from narcissistic abuse, that's a psychological term. The trauma that you sustain from that will definitely require you to undergo spiritual transformation. And it will only be healed by spiritual tools, to the most part. Like true healing of narcissistic trauma and narcissistic wounds, they come from you having had encountered the divine, the invisible forces of life. So you need spiritual healing. If you encounter a narcissist in your life and you suffer some kind of wound as a result of that encounter with a narcissist, the only way for you to recover from it is through spiritual means. You're not going to overcome narcissistic abuse using mental tools, doing cognitive things, only that. All right. You need to incorporate spiritual elements into it. So now your healing will be a miraculous one, because even the narcissists themselves, when they inflict this trauma into you, they do it knowing that this is going to be something that you are likely not going to be able to recover from. Because when a narcissist, infiltrates your psyche, and when they get into your system like that, what they're trying to do is to create a hook. They are inserting a pipeline into your psyche, so that that pipeline can extract energy from you and then feed it to themselves. They are constantly sucking on your energy like that, right? Because remember, this is vampirism, energy vampirism. So now, when you are not healing, even if you are disconnected, as in like you are no longer in any relationship with that person, maybe you're on another side of the world, far from that person, it doesn't matter. From an energetic perspective, the person is still feeding off your energy. Okay. And how are they feeding off your energy? As long as there is still a wound, as long as you are still broken in that regard, as long as, you are not yet integrated, you have not yet moved past that trauma, and not moving, and by saying moving past the trauma, I'm not saying, just like say something like, oh yeah, I'm so over that. No, there's healing, deep healing that would have had to take place. As long as that deep healing has not taken place, then you will still be food source to that narcissistic individual. Okay. And so you need to heal. And that's that exorcism now. Because how you exorcise the demons of a narcissist, you don't go to the narcissist directly. You go within yourself and heal those demons that would have been implanted within you. It's the same. The demons that are torturing you as a result of your encounter with the narcissist are the very same demons that are living inside the narcissist. So when you exorcise these demons within yourself, you are effectively exorcising the demons within the narcissist. All right. And so you are now tapping into the territory of miraculous living, because the level of damage that a narcissist inflicts in your life is severe. Your relationships are ruined, your career is ruined, your reputation is ruined. Everything about you yourself have behaved in ways that are absolutely unbecoming of you. So there's guilt, there's shame, there's all sorts of things that are just dragging you through the mud. You understand? And even you yourself, when you look at yourself, it's like, there's no way that it's possible to recover from this. All right. And then come in Jesus Christ, come in the divine forces of life, the invisible forces of life. And then they come and they take you as you are, and they put you together. They wash you nice and clean, and they mend you, and they, set you up again. And now you are no longer even that person that you were before you suffered that trauma, but you are now a new person. All right. And then now that you are a new person, you are now operating in the space of miracles, because now you understand that miracles can happen. Because if you could survive that level of hell, then that means the sky is the limit for you. If you can go to that depth of hell and still come out, that means you can reach the highest levels of heaven. Okay, and then you begin to activate the potential within you that exists within every human being. The potential for greatness, the potential for doing amazing things, the potential for miracles. All right. Where you create opportunities where there are no opportunities. All right. Where there is light in the midst of even the darkest phases. Okay. You have stepped into the territory of miracles. You wouldn't have known that that level of greatness and miracles exist in the world had it not been for the encounter with the psychopaths, the sociopaths, and narcissists of this world. All right. And so that's the gift that you get from these types of situations, especially when you heal and integrate. You will go into the sacred space, the secret place of the Most High, and then you will go and do the work. And then when you come out like a phoenix, and you do what you are here to do in the world. All right, because before then, you thought you could play around. You thought you could afford missing your divine mission in the world, until the narcissist threatened your survival, your existence, all right, your life. Then you realized, oh my Lord, I better get onto this mission that I'm here to fulfill. All right, that's what narcissism does. But of course, this is not something that you want to invite. It's not something that anyone invites into their lives. This is something that you just run into. You deal with it because of whatever invisible things that we can always talk about in some other video.